What's up, you guys? It's Chris here. Today I got a really special one for you. I'm going to be building one of these figured maple and walnut end tables. Because all the lumber that I use to build this table comes off my sawmill, it's all rough sawn. So I send it through the thickness planer to get a nice smooth finish on it. I also clean up all the rough sawn edges of the boards with the table saw. Now to assemble the table legs, I cut 45-degree miters down each one of the pieces that are going to be used for the legs. I put a piece of tape on the back side of the miter that will be used for the table leg and let half of the tape overhang. I flip it over and stick the other table leg to that overhanging tape. What we're going to do is we're going to use the tape on the back side as a hinge and use these little pieces of tape to hold the table leg together once we fold it closed. When I'm ready, I apply glue, spread it out, fold the table leg into place, and use the tape to hold it in place. I do this to all four of the table legs and let the glue set up. Once it's dry, I pull all the tape off. And for any spot that the miter didn't stay super tight, I just squirt a little glue in there and use the edge of a screwdriver to squish the fibers together. Once the glue's wiped off, you can't even tell that there was a gap there. I set up a stop block on the miter saw so that I can cut all the table legs at the exact same length. Give everything a quick sand job. I try to do as much sanding ahead of time because once you get everything glued up and screwed into place, it's really hard to get into all the nooks and crannies. So it's easiest just to do as much ahead of time as you can. Now the piece of wood that I'm going to use for the top of this little table is super warped. So I'm doing something kind of unconventional. I'm going to use this little support block and screw and glue it down to take that warp out of the board. This piece of figured maple is just so pretty. I don't want to waste it. I don't want to throw it out. I think this method will work just fine because I have it planed down pretty thin, so it'll bend right down to where I need it. Once I get the glue applied, everything lined up and clamped down, I go ahead and screw the support block into place. To fasten the table legs to the actual tabletop, I'm just going to pocket screw it into place and use some wood glue. I really don't like this cheap little pocket hole jig. I definitely need to upgrade to a Craig jig or something a little nicer. I get the table legs put into position, add a few clamps, some glue, everything lined up, and screw the legs into place. Now for the bottom tabletop, I'm just going to do pocket screws to the table legs, and I'm just doing one screw in each side and gluing it into place. I think that will be plenty strong to hold up anything that's going to get put on it. I drop the piece into position, add a whole bunch of clamps, tap it into the location that it needs to be, and then go ahead and screw it into place. When the glue is dried, I pop all the clamps off, flip it over, and now we got something that's starting to look like a piece of furniture. Next, I take some strips of walnut, send it through the cabinet panel bit on the router table, cut some 45-degree miters onto it, and now I'm ready to use it as trim. I add some glue and use a brad nailer to nail all of these pieces of trim into place. Now typically I wouldn't want the head of the brad nail showing, but the dark nail, the dark hole on the dark walnut, you really can't hardly see it when the table's all finished, so I really don't have a problem using this. I rip a few more pieces of walnut down, cut them to size for the trim that goes around the bottom tabletop, and then I nail them into place. The dark walnut looks so good with the figured maple. They kind of go hand in hand, and I think this combination is one of my absolute favorite combinations. I use my very precise woodworking hammer to tap this piece of trim right to where it needs to be. For any joints on the trim that don't fit quite right, I use the same glue and screwdriver method as I did on the table leg. And now for the absolute worst part of the project is sanding everything down. That's why I try to do as much ahead of time, because I absolutely hate this step. So I'll skip a whole bunch of it for you guys. Once I have everything sanded down, I blow it off with the air compressor and wipe it down with the tack cloth. This is to get any last bit of dust off the table before I start the finishing process. Here we go. This is the best part of the video and my favorite part of the project, applying the finish. I used a natural finish Danish oil to finish the table. Now, they do make some really pretty stains, but I think putting any sort of color on a table with this beautiful wood would just absolutely ruin the project. So in my mind, there was nothing else to put on this table besides a clear, natural finish. I just absolutely love the way it makes the walnut and the figurine and the maple pop. I applied 2 coats about 15 minutes apart, and then I let it soak in for 15 minutes and wipe any excess oil off. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this project. I think the dark walnut ties in with the figurine and the maple so well. I think the finish looks beautiful. I'm very happy with it. Have a great day. Bye.